Thanks for joining me again, guys, to another one of my mathematics tutorials. In this session, we will be looking at how to solve a quadratic equation using the factorization method as well as the formula. If you haven't seen my previous video on factorizing a quadratic equation, please be sure to do so. Now let's take a look at a quadratic equation. So let's say we have 3x squared plus 11x take away 4 is equal to 0. And we need to perform factorization on this equation. What we do is we list out what A, B, and C is. Remember, A is your coefficient of your square term. So A here is going to be 3. B is your coefficient of that term where your variable has the power of 1. So here x is our variable in this equation and our power of x is 1. So that coefficient of that term is going to be 11. And C is that term in your expression or equation with no variable attached to it. So C is -4. Your next step in factorization, A multiplied by C. Remember, all of this was done in the previous video. So A multiplied by C is going to be 3 multiplied by -4, and I'm going to get -12. Remember, our next step is to find two numbers such that when multiplied it gives me -12. So I'm going to list out those numbers. It's going to be -1, +12, -12, +1, -2, +6, -6, +2, -3, +4, -4, +3. Then I select a pair that when added is going to give me that term there. So that is going to be, remember it's +11 I want, so it's going to be -1 and +12. So I'm going to replace that now. So I'm going to write 3x squared take away 1x plus 12x take away 4 is equal to 0. Then I perform factorization by grouping. So I'm going to get x, open brackets, 3x take away 1. And here I'm going to get 4 by 3x take away 1. And I have those two brackets being common, so I'm going to take out those brackets. I'm going to get 3x take away 1 multiplied by x plus 4 is equal to 0. So that is factorization of our quadratic equation. Now I need to solve this. If I have two numbers such that when multiplied gives me 0, so let's say A multiplied by B is equal to 0, it would mean that either A or B is going to be equal to 0. Let's say I had 3 multiplied by 0, that is going to give me 0. Let's say I had 0 multiplied by 4, that is going to give me 0. So one of my numbers there, either A or B, must be equal to 0. So this would tell me that either this or this is going to be equal to 0. So then I can write this statement here. Either 3x take away 1 is equal to 0 or x plus 4 is equal to 0. So I can solve for what x is here. If 3x take away 1 is equal to 0, it's going to mean 3x is equal to, I take this, I carry it across there, I'm going to get 1, then 3 goes across to be divided, it's going to be x is equal to 1 divided by 3, x is a third. Next, remember we have either this is equal to 0 or I have this is equal to 0. So let's solve for this part here now. It's going to be 4 goes across there. I'm going to get x is equal to negative 4. So your solution is x is either a third or negative 4. And that is the solution to your quadratic. Let's try factorizing another quadratic equation before we move on to using the quadratic formula. So let's say we have this quadratic here. Now notice on the right hand side, in our last equation that we solved, it was 0. Here it's 2. Now it made it very easy for us to solve the quadratic when this side was equal to 0. So what we are going to do, we are going to make this side equal to 0 by carrying that across there. So it's going to be 2x squared plus 3x. Take away 2 from 3, I'm going to get positive 1, and that is going to be equal to 0. So now let's solve this using factorization. Okay, so after factorization, this is what I'm going to be left with. Now I can say either this or this is going to be equal to 0. So I'm going to write that either 2x plus 1 is equal to 0 or x plus 1 is equal to 0. And now I can solve. 2x is going to give me negative 1. X is going to give me negative 1 divided by 2. And on this side, x is negative 1. So my solution are x is equal to negative a half or negative 1. And there you have it, your solution to your quadratic equation using the factorization method. Now let's move on to our quadratic formula. So we will take back our first equation that we had. It was 3x squared plus 11x take away 4 is equal to 0. Now what our quadratic formula is, it is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared subtract 4ac all divided by 2a. Now this formula is used to solve a quadratic equation. Remember, we can list out what a is, what b is, and what c is. And all we need to do is substitute those values into our formula. So let's go. Negative b is 11, so negative b is going to be negative 11 plus or minus the square root of b squared, that is going to be 11 squared, subtract 4 multiplied by a, which is 3, multiplied by c, which is negative 4, all divided by 2 multiplied by a, which is 3. So we get negative 11 plus or minus the square root of 11 by 11 is 121, negative 4 by positive 3 by negative 4, a negative by a negative is a positive, multiplied by a positive is a positive. So 4 3s are 12 by 4 is 48, so I put plus 48. divided by 2 by 3 is 6. So I get negative 11 plus or minus the square root of 169 divided by 6. So here now we have negative 11 plus or minus, and the square root of 169 is 13 divided by 6. Now what that plus or minus sign is, it's actually we take the plus sign first or the subtraction sign first, and we work out what that solution is going to be, and then we consider our subtraction sign. So it's going to be negative 11 plus 13 first. So that's negative 11 plus 13 is 2 over 6, as well as negative 11 take away 13 is going to be negative 24 divided by 6. So we are going to get a third, as well as 6 and the 24 is negative 4. And if you remember, you can check back at the beginning of the video where we solved this same quadratic equation using the factorization method. We got a third and negative 4. So that is it there, solving our quadratic equation using factorization method as well as our quadratic formula. Liked this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more of my videos.